Hello there, it's Dina here from Jembear Designs. Today's video is a step-by-step tutorial on how to draw this tiger. I took the original photograph in a wildlife park and the tiger was actually playing around in some water. So it's a lovely little photograph to take. First thing I'm going to do is to create a really high-tech grid to help me transfer the photograph over from my iPad to the paper I'm going to be using. So I'm using a plastic paper wallet, just the standard one you get in your ring binders, and I'm drawing 2 cm square grid onto it. I've got quite a few of these grids knocking around the house, but I keep losing them, so I'll keep having to make new ones. I'm just using a permanent marker pen to create the grid, and once the grid's finished I can use masking tape and I'll just stick it onto my iPad. So now my reference photograph is ready to work with. I need to create a grid on my drawing paper. This is where you need to do a little bit of maths. I actually drew this grid about 2-3 times before I got the size of squares that I was happy with. And you can scale up or scale down quite easily if you do a little bit of maths first, rather than just diving in and drawing the grid, which is what I did. My paper is the extra smooth Bristol Board, 250 GSM. Gives a nice smooth finish. If you are drawing fur, it's actually easier in some ways to get a paper that's got a bit of tooth on it, and you can create much more effective fur more easily. But I like this smooth paper. Once I've got my grid in place, I'm just using a standard HB propelling pencil here, just to quickly sketch in the outline of my tiger. And I'm placing the features, the nose, the nostrils, the eyes, and the ears, the stripes, on that grid to make sure I've got my proportions correct. Well, you can see me just blocking in the main features, keeping a very light touch. I'm not adding any depth, I'm not worrying about the shading or anything like that. I'm just doing, it's like almost like an outline colouring in sheet at this point in time. So I know exactly where I'm going with this picture. I'm using the HB. If you go any harder, you might damage the surface of your paper, and a soft one will smudge, and I don't want that. So a HB gives me a nice clean line that I can work with. Once I'm happy with the layout of it all, I'm going to rub out all those guidelines. I don't want those in the drawing. When I put some effort into my drawing, the last thing then is you want to go around and rubbing out most of it, trying to get rid of the guidelines. As soon as you're happy with the layout of your paper, just rub them out. I'm using a very soft mop brush there to get rid of all the little bits that are left. Now I'm going to start actually doing the drawing. Got a paper towel under my hand. This helps stop grease transferring from your hand onto your paper. If that happens and then you go in and try and rub out a mistake later, you'll find you get with a really horrible sludgy mess on your paper. So a piece of paper towel stops that. It also stops you smudging any work you've got underneath there as well. I'm using, most of this picture I did 2 pencils. I did a 4B propelling pencil and a 2B propelling pencil. I like the propelling pencils because you don't have to keep stopping and sharpening them. They've already got a nice fine sharp point on them. I've also got an 8B and 6B pencil that I pop in and out with as well. I like the Faber Castell ones the best, although I have got some Dewent ones. I still prefer the Faber Castells. So I'm starting with the top left corner, and then I work in a sort of diagonal across my paper. In this way I'm protecting the area that I've drawn on by not touching it. I'm not resting on it. I try and finish it as much as I can while I'm there, and then I can leave it alone to a large extent. I do go in and mess around with it a little bit to make sure the picture's balanced. But on the whole, I try and keep to one area at a time and keeping that paper towel protecting the paper underneath. You can see there I've got the 2 pencils on the go. I'm going to go in and shade, and then I'll rub some out and I'll add different depths of colour. I'm going to be using a paper stump to do a lot of my shading with. Be very gentle with a paper stump. If you rub it too hard, it goes into the grain of the paper and it's hard then to rub out if you have decided you need to make a mistake. Using the shading to denote the bone structure of the tiger's face, so around the eye sockets, around the muzzle, and around the jaw, putting some shading in. Just using different kinds of rubbers there. I had one in a pencil type shape. It doesn't work very well at all. So I prefer to use a large plastic eraser and then just slice bits off to get a nice clean edge. I also keep a piece of sandpaper handy so that I can clean off the edge of my rubber, so I've got a nice clean white edge I can work with. Now you can see the tiger starting to come out of the paper a little bit on us. Always do the lines in the direction of the hair growth. So keep an eye on the reference photograph, because the hair direction does change across the tiger's face. Some of it's vertical, and then around the side of the face it goes more horizontal. So keep an eye on where that hair is growing, and make sure your lines follow the line of growth. It stands out like a sore thumb if you put a couple of lines in the wrong place. They just look wrong. So starting to add some depth of colour now, and building it up, and keep going in and out of the areas to make sure that I've got the effect that I'm looking for. Using different pencils, I've got an onyx black there as well to add extra really dark blacks in. I'm using a paper stump to blend, and I'll start working on the eye. Try and protect the whites if you can. You can always rub out, but it's easier not to have to rub out if you don't have to. So, while we just finish off the layering of the pencils, I'll just put some music on to keep us company for a few minutes. Now it's time to start working on the bottom of the picture. This is the bit I've been putting off because I know it's going to be quite tricky. I've got the blades of grass and reeds overlapping and entangling with the whiskers of the tiger. So I need to work out which are going where and what overlaps with what. So I'm just making sure I've got the nostrils in the right place, and I'm marking out where those little black dots are that the whiskers come from, and then going in and starting just working out the reeds and the whiskers, and then the hair as well underneath the tiger's jaw also adds a bit of a complication into it all for me. So I'll keep working through and adding shading, adding detail, building up my little tiger, and trying to work out where everything goes as well in there. Using the paper stump again to blend and add depth. One of the gadgets I've got, which is really, really useful, and you'll see me using, I think, now, there we go, it's a little electric eraser. You can get a very sharp point on it, and because it does the work, you can draw it across. I'm rubbing out those whiskers there. The whiskers on the tiger are beautiful and white and quite sturdy. So I'm using that little electric rubber to clean the whiskers up, and it works like a little charm really. So I'm going to carry on adding shading and depth and interest to that combination of whiskers, fur and reeds at the bottom of the picture there. So let's go back to some music. So here we go, now I'm working on that rough layer of fur across the back of the tiger's neck. It was quite fluffy because the tiger was wet, so I'm trying to give that impression of rough fur as well. Keep going in and out of different areas as I find spot little mistakes, and turning the picture around really helps. You see where something doesn't look quite right. Where the stripes are, I'm blending the black into the fur on either side of that black stripe, because it isn't like a solid black line, it's fur, so there's layers of fur overlapping other layers of fur. So I'm trying to create that effect by using different types of pencils and lots of strokes. Turning my paper around makes it a lot easier to keep the strokes of the fur going in the right direction as well. So now I'm just going to work on the back of my tiger, keep working on the flanks and that fur, bringing it down. Now we're approaching the end of this drawing, so it's a case of keep looking at it from a distance. I stood it on the sideboard for a few minutes and had a good look at it, and then going in and out and in and out, and just making sure that every area looks the way I want it to look. Going around rubbing out any dirty marks, smudges, fingerprints that I don't want on the final piece. Just signing it there. But then I went in and changed some of the little bits as well, because when I was looking at it after a few minutes I thought, oh, I don't like that. So just fine-tuning it, keep going in and out until I'm happy with it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video has been of interest to you and you've enjoyed watching it. If you have, please join me again soon. Thank you very much. Bye now.